I'll be sharing with you in this video how to choose the easier path and stop making things difficult when you're creating what it is that you want in your life. Because the truth is that I do believe that when you're creating what you want, when you're creating something in your life, there's going to be an opportunity for you to make things more difficult, make things harder, to make things just a little bit more difficult than it actually has to be. And there is a solution to this. There is a way for it not to be the case. And I think that it's about becoming aware that also there's an easier path. And sometimes it seems like the easier path is out of alignment with what you want to create, but oftentimes it's the opposite. Oftentimes when you choose the harder path, that's of course what's out of alignment with what you want to create. And I'm going to share with you what I mean by that in this video, because am I saying that sometimes you shouldn't have to work really hard and that it's just going to be an effortless, easy path? Not necessarily. Sometimes there's going to be the case where you do have to work harder, but at the same time though, there's going to be an opportunity for you to choose a path that's going to be easier and still help you to get the result. And I'm going to share with you in this video how to open yourself up to this possibility so you can still get the results that you want. Not contradict what you want, but then at the same time, just understand that there's going to be a path that can be easier. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of how to actually do this is to just notice when you're creating your own suffering. I want you to notice as you're going through your day, when is it the case that you're adding more layers of suffering on top of the situation as it's happening? So you're standing there and like there's a situation happening, right? But then there's your interpretation of the situation that adds all these mental stories that tells you that there's a problem and like, you know, why everything is so bad and like you shouldn't be experiencing this in this way. And I'm going to share with you in this video how to remove this so that you can really be the person that you want to be, of course. But the first step is to just notice when you're actually doing this. Notice when you're walking through your life and you feel like you're adding all this suffering. Right? Because you can add more resistance on top of a situation and make it worse when in reality, it's not the situation anymore, it's you. So one quick way to notice this is when you're blaming the outside world. So if you're blaming somebody, if you're blaming people and situations for how you feel, automatically you can tell yourself that you're creating your own suffering in that instance. Really, you can just take, that's accountability right there, you know? If you're blaming, if you're not saying that this is, you know, I'm the reason that I'm feeling this way, what's happening is that you're still putting it on others. And so that's an example of where you're putting the suffering on yourself. Like you're making it harder for yourself. You're telling other people that they're the problem and you're a victim and you're saying like, why is this happening to me? And like, why is this person make me feel this way? Like it's not about other people, okay? Nobody has ever made you feel any type of way. Like let's just get that out of the way quickly here. Nobody makes you feel any emotions. You make yourself feel emotions by interpreting the situation in a certain type of way. So rather than putting it on other people and making it so that, you know, other people are making you feel something, put it back on yourself. Take back your power and understand that, you know, when you're noticing your own suffering, start to catch yourself doing this, and then understand that you can absolutely snap yourself out of this, which leads me to the second thing that I want to share with you in this video, which is to understand that really what you want to start to do is to practice letting go of resistance when you're feeling resistance in the moment. When you're feeling resistance to the present moment, I want you to practice letting this go. So I want you to practice letting go of resistance to the present moment. Let it all go. If you feel resistance to the present moment, practice letting this go. So when you're walking through your life and you feel like you're adding this suffering on top of your life, when you feel like you're adding all these mental stories that are not supporting your vision, that are not supporting you to become the person that you want to be, well then what I invite and encourage you to do is to start to practice letting go of all that suffering. Just let it go, because look, there's this situation, but then when you see that you're adding all that suffering and you're doing it to yourself, I want you to practice just try letting it go. How do you do this? Well, it's kind of hard to put your finger on it. It's almost like a skill set, you know? It's like you feel like you're focused, you're fixated on something, that you're attached to something, right? You feel like you don't even know why you're doing it, yet you're adding all these mental stories and you're feeling you're feeding into something that you don't want to feed into. And then you just have to kind of make the choice just to move forward onto something else. One way to do this is to set an intention to move forward into a new direction. Make sure that you're aligning your actions with the intentions that you're actually setting. So are the actions that you're taking actually aligned with who you say you want to be? Like, are you actually being the person that you say you want to be? Or are you walking through life and you're still attaching to these stories that are not going to help you to be who you want to be? So it's important, I think, just to let go of the negativity, let go of the past, and to start to notice when we're doing this to ourselves so that we can practice just letting it go. It's pretty easy to do this, actually. In fact, it's harder not to. So people think like, oh, it's so hard to let go. How do I let go? Like, it's so difficult. No, actually, holding on is difficult. Holding on to the past is the hard thing. If you want to make the hardest choice, that's going to make you feel the most misery and the most suffering in your life, hold on to the past. Hold on to the past. But if you want to practice just letting go every single moment, that's actually easier because you're going to start to practice removing attachment to negative emotion. Removing attachment to emotions that are not serving you to be who you actually want to be. So try to practice this. It can be through taking action. It can be through, thinking different thoughts. By changing your intentions that are going to make you take different actions. It can be by just becoming present to the moment. Whatever works for you. Everybody has their own techniques, but practice letting go of that negativity. Move forward into something else. Focus on something that resonates. Use what you don't want as a symbol and a reason to be even more focused on what you do actually want. Every single time something in your life happens that you don't want, that you don't like, use it as a learning experience to become more aware of what you do want in your life. I think that's what life is really about. I think that life is about contrast, realizing what we don't want through negative experiences, and then taking those negative experiences and then moving forward into a new reality. So what I'm inviting and encouraging here is when you feel these negative experiences coming up, just let them go immediately and then use that as just yet another reason to be even more focused on what it is that you do actually want to create in your life. Now, the third and final thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of how to choose the easier path and stop making things difficult when you're creating what you want is to understand that really this is so powerful. This is full responsibility, full accountability. It's owning your sticking points and do not put anything on other people. So this goes back to blaming. So don't blame, don't criticize. Notice how when you're pointing fingers out there, the ego very rarely wants to self-reflect and focus on where are you doing the thing that you dislike in the other. So you're pointing fingers at the other and saying, why is this me? Like, you're doing this, criticizing, blaming. But it's like, wait a second here. Where are you doing that? Where are you not being the person that's actually helping other people? Where you're criticizing. If you're pointing fingers and blaming somebody for doing something, I promise you that a lot of the times, whatever you're blaming in that person, there's some type of quality in that person that you still have within yourself that you haven't fully healed, that you haven't fully let go of. You're still holding on and believe that you have to hold on to this negativity. But the truth is that there's no reason for you to do this, really. It's disrespectful, it's rude, it doesn't help anybody. And the truth of the matter here is that all you really have to do is just own your sticking points. If you feel like you have an insecurity, if you have a problem, the best thing that you can do is to own this problem and stop putting it on other people. Take action to become a better person, to move away from the problem. Prove to yourself that that insecurity is not true. Do your best to speak on it, to express it, to don't hide the insecurity, own it fully. A lot of times when we pretend that we're not insecure, what happens is that it makes us more insecure. But if you're willing just to admit the fact that, maybe you don't know something, maybe you just don't know. Maybe you're willing to admit that you don't know something and you actually don't know, and you're truly in the unknown and you're insecure. I think that's the truest security that a person can have. I think the truest security that a person can have is to fully admit that at the end of the day, everything is a risk and nothing is really secure. Nothing is secure at the end of the day, really, because if you look at it, everything is a risk. Every choice that you make has consequences, and any choice that you don't make has a consequence for you not making that choice at all. It's opportunity cost, right? Every choice that you make is in place almost for another choice, right? And this is the risk that we take every single moment in our life. So I invite and encourage you to start to notice, when are you blaming things out there and not taking full accountability for the decisions that you're making in your life and how you're feeling in this present moment, because you yourself made yourself feel this way. Nobody else did. Nobody else made you feel angry. Nobody else made you feel upset. Nobody in your life ever made you feel sad or even happy. Even happiness was, there's no reason for something to happen and then for you to feel like you need praise and approval from that. That's all just the ego. The truth is that there's something deeper within you that I believe every single person has, that if they ground in this deep truth, where the truth is that nothing is truly secure. At the end of the day, there's nothing that's secure, and the greatest form of security that you can have is really falling into the fact that everything is unknown. Everything is unknown, nothing is known, there's no security really in anything. But if you want security, remember that that's the place to come from, because that's going to be the place where you can be transparent to life about what your desires really are, about what you're scared of happening, and proving those things that you're scared of happening, that they're not true. Know what you want, and then the concerns that might come up in your life are normal, but you want to be able to speak to these concerns and communicate these concerns so that you don't need to be believing in these concerns because they're not true. Prove these concerns wrong, prove them to be not true. This is what's going to help you to choose the easier path and to make things easier for yourself, because remember, why is this going to make things easier? What's going to happen is that now you're taking accountability and you're taking responsibility of your emotions, rather than believing that somebody can make you feel better. That somebody out there can make you feel better, because it's never going to happen. Nobody out there is going to make you feel better. But if you express how you really want things to be, now you can create a space to be who you really want to be, and you don't really need others, but it's coming from a space where now you're in a healthy relationship with life itself. You're in a healthy relationship with life itself to be able to express to life what you need, what you want, and to be able to really fall into this perspective of just being fully authentic, fully honest, right? Not playing a facade, because many people, why are they living a life that they're not happy with? Well, really because they're playing a character that they don't really want to be playing, that they're not resonating with. And so the invitation that I have is that you don't need to be playing any sort of character that you don't actually resonate with, that you don't actually want in your life. It's not the case that you need to be believing in some identity or some belief system that you don't want to be. You can be the person that you want, that resonates for you. Play the character that you actually want, not the character that other people think that they want for you, and the character that you believe you have to actually